Hello, and welcome to episode 27 of the IP3 podcast. This is a big episode milestone for us. This is our 1 year anniversary episode. We have successfully released enough episodes in the last year that it looks like we definitely did it every 2 weeks very consistently throughout that time.
Well, we averaged out to every 2 weeks across the
Mhm.
total of the year, which is what's important, I think.
Yeah, yeah, we had some catch up time in September with some vacations and trips and unexpected life happenings. But yeah, so as usual, I'm Kevin. I'm here with Alex and Rhea, and we're gonna close out the IP3's 2024 today. Um, so let's see. A few things happened recently.
hmm
New BNR, which will not spur. Well, I guess no. There's probably pretty good amount of discussion to be had about it, but new banned and restricted announcement dropped on Monday of this week, and no changes, which makes sense.
Any format.
I'm no changes to any format. I'm not surprised. It doesn't make a ton of sense when we're going into the probably longest stretch of competitive downtime we'll have for a minute, and the only the upcoming season is RTNs next February, and that will be constructed, and that will be current CC format plus the hunted. Um, there's probably the hunted draft, I assume, as well. But I haven't checked the formats. Um, but it doesn't make sense to knee jerk reaction on Living Legend the day after the Chicago calling results got in there. Um, for anyone who didn't watch the Chicago
Yeah,
call, but yeah, that's
I
what there's
I
some.
I have some opinions. I feel like, so spoiler alert, Starver was more than half of the top 8 at Chicago, and I think it's kind of crazy that they unrestricted Starstruck. In addition to him getting so much gas in Rosetta, we saw just how powerful the decompose packages are on stream. They're especially good at breaking the mirror. And I believe Brian Gottlieb was quoted on the weekend as saying that Somersault probably shouldn't exist as it does now. Card's probably a little bit too pushed, and so I kind of was surprised to not see it restricted in LL, to be honest. Maybe they want to give it a little bit more time, but I'm skeptical that that card is long for the format.
Let people see. Let people see it. Let people like try to build
Oh no,
around it to.
we saw it. We saw
Yeah.
it a lot.
Yeah. But let people try to counter it, and like there's no big LL events for it to disrupt
Yeah,
as it is, so they might as well just let it hang out.
I think that is the biggest reason why there was no immediate changes. Is there's no upcoming LL thing on the schedule until theoretically the London Battle Hardened. They follow their recent pattern with that. So format gets a bit of a breather. They get to think about it again. Uh, yeah. So the top 8 of the calling ended up being 5 Starvos, 2 Chains, and 1 Visceri. Which I made a post on Blue Sky about this, but is very poetic top 8 composition, as those are the first 3 heroes to ever LL in the game. Viscera just did it in Blitz before either Chain or Starvo, but I thought that was some uh, a pretty cool coincidence.
Mm-hmm. Do you know what I was pointed out to me recently that I think is a really cool coincidence? Was we went back to back. Michael Fung wins the 50th calling, and Michael Hamilton wins the first LL calling. And if that's just not like emblematic of the American flesh and blood pro scene, I don't know what is. I thought that was really cool.
If your name's not Michael, you're not winning.
Well,
kind of.
also that.
Also that.
I'm gonna look into a name change.
I mean, hey, I still have time to change Baby Sprout's name potentially. So, boy
I
or
mean, 2
girl,
months
doesn't
later, you get
matter.
a
They're
dab or
getting
not.
named Michael. uh, but yeah, so spoiler alert if you didn't watch it. But fittingly, Michael Hamilton, first champion of the first Living Legend calling, playing Starvo. Uh, you want to know how good Somersault is? Somersault is so good, it got Michael Hamilton to put no blocks in his deck. In a Guardian deck, too. We're
In a
not talking
Guardian
like
deck.
chi things. But I will say I think the most interesting thing deck list wise is, I personally was a little confused when they unbanned Starstruck. Hamilton didn't even play it. It was not in the 80. No Starstrucks at all.
That's nuts. Now be careful because I believe his Fab TCG list is only 77 cards, and no one knows what the last 3 cards are.
Yes, but also I think I saw Roger on Blue Sky say that out
Yeah,
loud.
yeah.
I did.
Yeah.
I was the Starvo punching bag for testing, and Star Trek is very good. It's also like very expensive, kind of hard to
It's
play.
very
actually.
expensive.
So
Yeah.
I could definitely see a reason not to play it, even though it's very impactful.
Yeah, I don't know. There were definitely some innovative decks that came out of the weekend. Like Crown of Providence, Cash and Prism was doing surprisingly well. And they were also doing like really weird things of pitch a yellow plus tunic, play Phantasmaclasm, make you bottom a card, draw a card, play Fractal Replication, copying Phantasmaclasm, make you bottom a card, draw a card, crack my Balance of Justice, because you drew 2 cards from my Phantasmaclasms, which is really, really cool with Luminaris.
That's funny.
There was also the Channel Mount Auxilio Briar cosplay deck that was running around. I believe Naib Mobasir, right? Got like close to top 16 with that, if not top 16.
I'm not sure where it landed, but
they
I
were on
did hear about the
stream
deck.
round 6, and it just happened to be that was the round that Viserai went turn 0, double Mordred, double Dirge, start the game with 16 ring chance.
But basically the idea of that deck was, well, you have all of the lightning cards, and Auxilio doesn't actually use wizard cards to combo off with Gone in a Flash. So you can just play the Gone in a Flash Lightning Greaves combo, but also have Channel Mount Heroic in your deck. So it's just worth like 15 extra damage on your combo turn or whatever, which is way better than Volzar. And you have Rosetta Thorn for the in-between turns when you're not comboing off with Lightning Greaves. It's a really clever deck idea, I think.
Yeah, that was definitely probably the most novel thing that came out of the weekend in my eyes. The Battle Hardened top 8 looked a lot more diverse than the calling top 8. Battle Hardened had 2 Viserai, Zen, Dio, Chain, Starvo, Dromai, and Florian. So that one was pretty spread out, but at the same time, it wasn't an enormous calling, and then also a lot of the Starvos that did really well were in day 2 of the calling. But I did encounter my first OTK Florian opponent. And I guess actually before we dive into other things like that, I think I'm a pretty all right Flesh and Blood player. It's not always rainbows and butterflies though out in the competitive field, and I was super duper excited for the Calling Chicago and to play Chain and to play Living Legend all weekend long, and never in Magic or Flesh and Blood have I had a less successful competitive endeavor than this weekend. I went 1-3 in the LL side event on Friday, which I was just like, weird. All right, just a little rough on variance. Just it happens.
Got it all out of your system. Yeah.
So I hoped and thought, and then I played in the Calling, and I went 0-3 and dropped from that. Played in the Battle Hardened on Sunday, went 0-2 and dropped from that. So that was the most thorough thrashing that I have ever taken. Which is also weird because I didn't have any like, oh dang, I did this really obvious stupid mistake and lost a game. I just kept being like a point or two shy of, clinching victory in certain scenarios, and game's hard, and sometimes you just don't win, and this was not my weekend. But it was still fun. I have some pretty cool friends who got me this really sweet anime Viserai from Japan, and I guess spoiler alert till we talk about the beginning of 2025 for the IP3, but I'm going to be taking a little break because my wife Yessie is over 9 months pregnant at this point, so baby Sprout is going to be making an appearance anytime now. We actually had a contingency plan in Chicago so that the people that drove there with me had a ride home if I had to just up and leave at any point.
I drove my car solo in case I needed to bring a car full of 5 people back, and it would have been an interesting ride. 5 people in my tiny Honda Fit.
It was just 2. It would have been Colin and Jesse.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
nothing too crazy. But yeah, I appreciate it, and all my Eclipse teammates and friends signed this really. It's really tough to see on the camera, but signed this really nice card for me and everything. So, you don't have to win the Calling to have a really awesome tournament weekend. So,
Yeah.
Thanks y'all for that one. It was really nice.
You're welcome. And I kind of have a related experience based on what you said. This was the first big Flesh and Blood event I ever went to where I didn't play the main event. I just played side events all weekend, and I had so much fun. It was unbelievable. So, just for you, the viewer, I kind of really recommend just going and jamming CC side events at Callings. You get to set your own schedule, more or less. If you're just not feeling the event, you can drop, and it's oh no, a couple prize tickets. And you still get to see all the friends that you would have seen while you were playing the main event and getting tilted about not doing well. Except there's no stakes.
I did not go. I was working all weekend.
You were there in spirit, Alex. We appreciate all the work that you do.
Yeah. This is your busiest time of year, but you're almost through it. You're almost there.
5 more days. Not come fast enough.
Yeah. But yeah, so Chicago was very cool. OTK Florian deck using Skeleton seems pretty sweet. I got Mordred Tide Germinated on the weekend, and that made 21 rune chance on a 3 a 3 card hand. Deck is very very interesting. I do think longer term, before there's the next competitive season featuring Living Legend, I do think they will touch the format again. I think Somersault is an easy card to point to as a potential one to hit. My old, maybe it's just Starstruck on principle of we are trying to rein this in, so this is a really powerful effect that, especially now that we're in a world with Felling of the Crown and Plow Under in these lists. It's okay, well maybe they don't also need this steal a whole turn from the top rope on a Starvo fuse kind of thing. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I also, it only had one top 8 appearance in the Battle Hardened, but Stubby Hammers has got to just be at least on their watch list, in my opinion.
Forever.
It's just, it's you're starting with 8 damage just on your gloves. You're dope. My opponent is at 32-ish when the game starts because I have this card and can go 8 chain links wide. But yeah, they'll let it stew for a minute, and I'm sure they will make some nice changes to it. Uh, the other cool deck development that I know that people have known about RuneGate Chain existing in some way, shape, or form. I think the real question up until now was okay, what's the overall like real deal competitive viability? And Cody Williams took RuneGate Chain into top 8 of the Battlehard. So that deck is definitely real. I think I'm guessing it's just a better upfront aggro deck than
Mhm.
the classic Chain. And with the speed of this format, cool. If you can
You
do
got
really busted things for the first 4 turns, that's kind of what you're that's kind of what you've signed up for. So
yeah, you just don't have time to ramp up his chain anymore.
mm-hmm. Makes sense why he was able to do so well. And even one of the other chain lists, no, it was from the battle hardened, but the other the battle hardened chain list ditched belittle, which was interesting. So more reds and getting to use some taller attacks and things like that. So at some point, I forget if it was on one of these episodes or if it was in a Wraith Times article or something. I'm like, eventually the Runeblade card pool is going to outgrow Belittle Minnowism. Like you're just going to have other better stuff to put in those slots that probably blocks better. And it kind
A
of
lot better.
looks like that time might just be now,
Mhm.
which is neat to see. But so yeah, that's the Calling Chicago cap. We did also get some really key new spoilers regarding the Hunted. Um,
You know what card might go into RuneGate Chain?
You know what card might go into every chain?
yeah, Call is pretty incredible. So we got a few. We'll go through them pretty quick, but Call is a Shadow Runeblade action. It's templated a lot like Funeral Moon, so it's a red pitch, 0 cost, 3 block action that has Blood Debt, so you can play it from your Banish zone. If a hero has lost life this turn, you may play it as though it were an instant. And then the actual effect of the card is each hero banishes a card from their hand. It's a symmetrical effect. It has to be fair, right? Like it
It's
has to be.
it's so unfair.
Uh, so one of the big problems in Vincent lists when they're trying to be more aggressive, or there's a you get to banish your 1 card per turn for Vincent, and this is I don't know, fits really nicely in where you're going to be attacking the opponent's hand and forcing them to banish. And if you can banish a second rune gate for that turn, if you have a Revlin Rune Blood or a few Malefic incantations or something in play, this card enables a lot more double gate turns out of the deck, which is really good, and does so while also being disruptive to the opponent, which is a really great combination. Alex summed it up really well when it first got spoiled, in that it's just like, wow, this card's great. You play 3 of it. The only question is what 3 cards get like shunted out of the 80 card deck.
No
And
deck building decisions
yeah,
around
it's
it.
like
It just goes in.
it's great,
There's no
it's strong,
questions.
but there's no like, ooh, now we change, this chunk of the deck and rebrew. It's like, nope, it's just right on in. So it also has really dope art.
The art is very good. The thing that so like the not immediate thing that's so cool about this card to me is it's impervious to damage-based arsenal destruction. It can't get command and conquered, and it can't get obviously it can't get leave no witness because it banishes on hit. But this card can't get CNC'd because you take the hit from CNC and you say, okay, in response to the arsenal destruction effect, I've lost life this turn. You just damaged me. I'll play this as an instant from my arsenal. Congrats, banish your last card from hand, and I'll stick this rune gate.
Let me eat the card that you wanted to arsenal, and I'll put an extra rune gate out there, and it'll be great.
Congratulations, you CNC'd yourself.
Yeah. Well, and you actually might want to. So the leave no witnesses, if it gets to banish, they'll get the silver. So you can deny the silver if you clear the arsenal before
Yeah.
that goes off too. So
You
pretty
could
good.
also potentially block a little bit, and then if somebody plays a codex, you can then play Cull to banish your last card from your hand. So then you don't have to discard, but you still get an arsenal.
So get
Codex.
to draw an arsenal. Yes, that works if they don't have the 2 resources for CNC, but if they have the leave no witness, then you're just open to like just whatever you're getting being banished, right? I guess if you get a blood debt card, then it's fine. You want it to be banished.
There you go.
There you go.
The biggest upgrade in my mind is to widespread ruin, because now with Funeral Moon and Call and maybe probably to Bounding Demagon because it's a 0, Shadow of Ursa, getting a lot closer to having a really good chunk of the deck being 0 cost banish off the top things, which is just powerful in general. So, but enough about Call. Let's go to the other side of the fence with Cry of Bellona. That is
Alex, this is your specialty.
Oh, this is me. Alright. This is a light warrior attack reaction that pitches for yellow, costs 0, blocks for 3. Target Raiden gets +2 this turn. If you play Lumina, it'll get +2 on the first attack, +2 on the second attack. Or instant, discard this, banish X cards from your soul. That's the cost. The next time target weapon deals X or less damage to you this turn, deal that much damage to its controller, and that damage can't be prevented. Did anybody say anti-enigma card?
Anti-enigma card as long as they don't have the astral etchings.
Yeah, well, there's kind of played everything, so.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, it's good that there is even a card of counterplay, and honestly, it's one that sees a lot of play too. So it's.
I have complaints about the templating of this card. I think it doesn't read very cleanly, and I've had to reread the instant ability like 5 times to understand what it's saying. And I still don't understand. If you are dealt less than X damage from the weapon, do you retaliate X, or do you retaliate the damage that you were dealt? I still don't understand just from reading the card.
I am in the you return what you are dealt camp, because if they wanted you to return the X damage, they would just have put another X on the card. But I fully agree that it could be and probably and should be clearer.
Yeah, I think it's fine. I think this is a perfectly good card for Bolton to have. It kind of lets you have copies 4 through 6 of Beacon of Victory as like I have a bunch of soul at the end of the game. Gotcha, I win, not you win. Which I think makes for exciting games of Flesh and Blood, even if it's a bit feels bad for like the player that's losing, but that's just someone has to lose. I think it could have been worded cleaner.
I agree with the wording thing, but just in general, I think it's just going in every Bolton deck. It's
every Raiden Bolton deck.
There you go. Okay.
It is. It does.
You might even play it if not, because it's a yellow light card that blocks for 3. Those aren't as common as you'd like for them to be. And then also it has upside of when you're on offense, it's maybe +4 value on a Lumina turn, or if you're on the defense, like it's a silver bullet, air quotes, for the Enigma match, which is a tough matchup. So like a card that helps in that matchup, but it's not gonna just like auto win you the game when you find the card. I think is a healthy spot for it to be. So I think it was just,
you know what's a really good Majestic? Blade Flurry. You know what this card compares very favorably to on Lumina turns? Blade Flurry.
Yep.
I think the most interesting part of this card, by the way, is I saw Brygo say at one point that the only time he's meaningfully contributed to, or the most meaningful contribution to Bolton development, was him suggesting this card say target Raiden and not target Raiden Dustbane, which means that there is another Raiden at some point in the game's future, which is exciting. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah, that'll
Love that.
be cool to see.
Love that.
But yeah, I feel a little bit bad for the Enigma fans, but because
You wanna
the card's really good, but
you wanna
also
you
I
wanna
don't feel
feel
that bad.
Here's the world's smallest violin.
Yeah. you wanna feel bad for more fans of decks, except this time it's a bad deck.
Welcome.
Come on. What are we doing with what's Ring of Roses is like so good to being great, so close to being great, and it's just not there.
Yeah.
It's just
tell the people what it is, and then I'll tell you the really great idea that I heard from a different show.
So Ring of Roses is a yellow 0-cost Earth Wizard action. I love everything I said so far. Aura, okay, I can make work with this. And the text is the first time you deal arcane damage each turn, gain 1 life, which is sick because it like incentivizes you to actually play her as a wizard. It's really cool. The issue is that it's a legendary verdant specialization. You only get 1. And the only way that you can tutor this card in your entire deck is if you want to Call to the Grave it and then Plume of Evergrowth it back into your hand. I don't know about that. I don't know about that. Even if you do that, it's only a 25% chance to see it the first turn of the game. And all the other turns of the game, Call to the Grave is doing nothing. So what did you want to say about it, Kevin? What's the solution for it?
So the way this card reads, right, you can only put 1 in the deck, so you have to either dig for it or find really convoluted ways to tutor for it, and that's rough, because this is a card that, like, it feels like it's a card you're supposed to be playing the whole game with it in play. Like, it feels like an extension of the hero power, right? Or like a, flavor win, like Spirit of Irina, buffing the Lumina thing, and
Except Bolton has 3 good in-deck tutors for Spirit of Arena.
Yes. And so I think, okay, cool, this is legendary, so there's only 1. And then they just put the templating on the way it is. And I wouldn't be surprised if it was like, oh, well, we don't want, if you have 3 Ring of Roses in play, that's really busted. Okay, here's 5 Arcane. I know you can't block
That would be so
AB right, exactly. But the way it's templated, you would gain 3 life there. And they don't want that. It shouldn't stack, but I think it was Lucas Oswald on the Runaways podcast suggested that this card should basically have in Magic, it's the Planeswalker uniqueness rule, right? Like, give it some trinket text at the bottom that just says you can only have 1 Ring of Roses in play at a time. Like, if you have 2, you must put 1 in the graveyard, right? So, like, duplicates in play don't benefit you unless you, okay, that's not even necessarily true, because you could want to fuel decompose, right? There's a world where that's it. But fine, if you're going to play a 0 value gain to put 1 specific card in your graveyard, whatever. But it's just a different way to prevent that stacking, but give you an increased, like, access to it. So in more games, you can play more of the game with more Ring of Roses in play.
Yeah. It's just kind of, the design is conflicting here because this is a slow, grindy value piece, but it's asking you to be patient and find it at some point in the game, potentially the mid game to late game, and take a turn off to play an action point for it, which, like, everything I just described is a combo piece that lets you find your pieces and then end the game as you assemble the combo. But that's just not what the text on the card says. So I really feel like just on the, like, this 1 card basis, it's being pulled in 2 directions that just don't really meld well. The unique rule where you get 3 of them, but, like, you can only have 1 in play at a time, I think would have made perfect sense.
As the Verdance player in this call.
I'm gonna take that title from you soon, just for the record.
No, you gotta play it in a tournament first.
I will.
Yeah. It is like
summed it up right there.
I
Uh-huh.
You're not saying anything that's incorrect, but also I feel like this is obviously best once the hero power is already online. Obviously, yes, when you deal arcane damage, gaining 1 life is good, but when you deal arcane damage, gaining 1 life and dealing an additional arcane damage is better. Just adds 2 value to each of your turns. So to get it to the point where it's just 2 every turn, you will have to have already turned on Verdant's hero power, which means you're probably at least 3 turns into the game, which means you're probably 15 or 16 cards into your deck. So all of a sudden, it's much more likely that you will find Ring of Roses either that turn as you're getting online, or the next couple turns. So I do like sometimes this is gonna be the bottom card of your deck, and it's gonna suck, and you're just never gonna see it. But I think not being able to 2-4 is not as big of an issue as a lot of people are making it out to be.
I can see your argument when you put it like that. I still think you might want to play something like Tome of Harvests to try to dig for it a little bit faster if you just have breathing room. But
I've never found a reason to put Aether Spindle back in my deck so fast.
yeah,
It deals
Aether
arcane
Spindle,
damage and lets me opt a bunch? Yeah, for sure.
as long as you play Tunic with that Aether Spindle so that you can also weapon on top of it.
Maybe.
Well, there's
I can be
also
convinced.
room for a tutor too, right? Lesson Lava is a specialization. Maybe in the future you get an Earth Arcane.
Ooh.
Yeah,
Shiana.
I have a feeling.
Shiana can play Lesson in Lava and Ring of Roses.
Yeah, but she can't Verdant's hero power. I have a
Okay, so
feeling
be Shiana,
that...
play against Verdance.
Yeah, there you go.
There, we did it. Problem solved.
I have a feeling we're not done seeing Verdance cards in the expansion slot, just like how we see Riptide cards every expansion slot. Like Chain Reaction, because Rangers are now wizards. Wizards aren't wizards. Wizards are Runeblades. Rangers are wizards. Chain Reaction. Yellow 0 cost Ranger defense reaction trap 3 block. When this defends an attack with Go Again, very easy to trigger. You may turn a non-attack action card in your arsenal face up. If you do, you may play it this turn as though it were an instant. I don't actually know that this is much of a Riptide card. It's like exactly Plan for the Worst, and sometimes Codex of Frailty or Inertia kind of, but mostly just Plan for the Worst that this is good for. Where it's sick is Lexi in Living Legend. Flip up an Arctic Incarceration red, play it in the middle of your turn.
Oh, yeah, nicely.
Flip up Winter's Bite, play it in the middle of your turn. I think she's going to use this card really well. Flip up 3 of a kind, play it in the middle of your turn. It only lasts
through all these cards, but now don't also have the restriction when it comes to be my turn.
There you go.
Yeah, all you have to do is line it up with Tunic. And honestly, even without Tunic, it's probably still perfectly adequate value.
Right, because you can use the floating resources to load arrows with Voltaire anyways.
And it's a yellow 3 block D-Reacts. Like, the floor is not that embarrassing. I think this card is going to make a splash in LL, and I don't think it has a home in CC yet. We also have just like some...
I think Riptide, depending on what the meta shakes out to be, it's possible that Riptide plays it as a trap that he can trigger off stuff with Go Again. Even if it doesn't use the non-attack action. Maybe it'll line up someday with Plan for the Worst. But even just like the basics of a yellow 3 block trap that he can trigger might.
Yeah, yellow 0 for 4 is good. Good card.
Yeah, I mean, I think it also makes Codex of Bloodrot more playable. Because you force a card into the opponent's arsenal. Doesn't necessarily, like, it's not necessarily
into their arsenal.
A chi or plenty of blues. I mean, it could be something they wanted to use for resources. Just might not be enough to put it over the top. It's still not going to replace Codex of Frailty. Interesting implications at the very least. All right, we got a few more of these to get through. Don't want to take
Yeah, I can probably
the
go
whole
a bit
episode.
faster.
Yeah, so we've got a new Ranger quiver called Enchanted Quiver. It's a Ranger equipment quiver, so it's an offhand as long as you have a bow equipped in your weapon zone. And it says its one ability is instant destroy this. Prevent the next 1 arcane damage that will be dealt to you this turn. If there's a face-up arrow in your arsenal, instead prevent the next 2. I think this card has the most potential impact as a really good like one card in LL Lexi that you're just like, great, I have Spell Void 2 that's not even in one of my main equipment slots. That's really powerful. Just a good role player, right? It's a long draw,
Yeah.
half glove type impact.
It's fine. It's good when the meta calls for it and you're not playing it any other time.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, checks out.
Speaking of, and the meta does call for it right now, Roiling Fissure gives Guardians some technically uninteractable aura hate. Blue X+1 cost, Guardian Action 3 block. It does have Go again. Destroy an aura with cost X or less. Then you may destroy a seismic surge you control. If you do, repeat this process. So it costs 4 resources to kill target mirror guy, but you also presumably have just eaten a hit from that mirror guy in the face. And you can destroy a seismic surge to do it again. Importantly, this can't hit tokens, so like you can't destroy spectral shields with this card if you pay X equals 0, because they don't have a cost, which is a bit of unfortunate. It really feels like that could have been worked into the card somehow. I think it's fine. Guardians will play it if they need to. I think it could have been pushed a little bit more.
So in my mind, this isn't them attempting to answer Enigma for Guardians. This is them getting around to the Prism aura spam problem, right?
It's much better against Spectra. Paying 1 for this is very reasonable.
That's interesting. I was gonna say this is for Dromai. Like, oh, you have a burn them all and a passing mirage out on the field. It's like, all right, well, I'm gonna Rolling Fisher, destroy both of those, and then use my hammer to kill Mirror Guy. And
Yeah,
now I just killed
the
3
issue
threats in 1 turn.
is the issue is when you say both of those, are you playing tectonic plating? Because I don't think you are. So I don't know where these surges are coming from. There's also
It might just be a deck building concession though. If you're like, oh, I would like to have the agency to turn Roiling Fisher into a destroy 2 Spectra and follow up with any hammer to destroy a third. Just
I guess
like
that's true.
what Guardian wouldn't have killed for that in their deck for a lot of the last 2 years?
Tectonic plating isn't so far below Tunic that's unreasonable. It just
I
tends to be that Tunic is better.
don't know that I agree. Similar vein, they're really pushing Guardians to want to use seismic surges. Tremor Shield Sabatons are Blade Break run legs and have an instant effect, destroy this prevent the next 1 arcane. But if you've controlled a seismic surge token this turn, instead prevent the next 2. So you can get 3 value out of it versus split damage opponents that do physical and then do arcane, aka Rune Blades, but you need seismic surges. I just don't know when this card is going to see play compared to Civic Steps, to be honest.
Yeah, like it.
This
I
might be a
agree.
card that's solving a problem that doesn't exist yet, which is an interesting to think about, but I don't think it's really worth talking about right now.
Yeah, fair. Role player. Sunflower Samurai's spoiler video for it was delightful and hilarious if you didn't watch it. So thanks for that, y'all. It was great. Let's go Thick Hide Hunter next. We got a new Brute card. It is a 2-cost, yellow, pitching for 2, Brute attack action. It has 6 power and 6 defense, which on the surface sounds really nutty, but it has the text of when this attacks or defends, discard a random card. So the 6 block is not not for free, unless it's the last card in your hand that you're blocking with. So I think it'll be a solid role player. It's in a little bit of a weird spot, but the fact that it is a yellow and a true 6 power card,
which are surprisingly rare, apparently. By the way, like more so than you would think. And also, yellow 2-cost 6 is very, very rare.
I think this goes into Rhinar and doesn't make it into KO.
I agree with that.
There are some. I do think it will make it into KO.
Ooh, okay.
But it's more important. A more important gain for Rhinar, I think.
There are some interesting things.
Sorry, my issue with it is, and Hayden talked about this, is it's yellow. There's now so many yellow brute cards that they're competing for slots because if you have too many yellows, then like you're not pitching blues anymore, you're pitching yellows. So it's like just what.
But it's one
what
that
other
costs
yellow is
2.
this replacing?
A 3-cost one. This card is one of those jack of all trades, master of none type, and I think it's a chain ender. I think it is a resource card on like those in between turns. I think it's a fine attack to arsenal when you can set it up to be that chain ender. In a pinch, it lets you be like, oh well, my last 2 cards are a no block and a 6 block. I need to block 6, right? Like being able to, or even not that, if you have a bunch of 3 blocks and a 6 block, and you're like, oh, I'm set up for a decent turn that was going to go too wide with an agility, and they're like, great, send a Spinal Crush. You're like, okay, cool. Let me put, a Bravo dominated Spinal Crush. You can just put 6 block in front of that on a single card. There's value into dominate and overpower with that defensive ability, and yeah, it does enough.
Those heroes are just not played right now.
Fair point.
But yes, I agree with that.
I
also,
think
rules question. If I defend a Phantasm, am I still going to have to discard?
No.
Dope.
Oh, wait. Yes. Phantasm, yes. I assumed Spectra, which it wouldn't, because you never attack.
Oh,
if you attack a Spectra with it, you don't have to discard. If you defend the Phantasm, yes, you do have to discard.
Okay.
The Phantasm and discard triggers will both go on the stack, and they will both resolve even if they're arranged in the order that the chain closes first.
Gotcha.
It's funny insurance is a reprimand effect or something like that.
I was just about to mention that
I'm gonna block here and pop it, and then but if you do like some trick, then I'm still gonna be blocking 6.
Yeah. The best thing I can say about this card is it's 6 foot tall and bullet resistant, which I think is hilarious. I know that joke has been kind of lukewarm reception.
I like it. It is an accurate description. It feels right. All right. Last but not least, arguably the most important card, because this was specifically requested by Dan, 2-time battle-hardened champion Dan Grosclose, famously holding the free Katsu sign when he won battle-hardened Columbus.
Such a great photo.
Last month. So we have a new ninja attack action. It's called Retrace the Past. It is a blue 0-cost attack action. It has 2 power, 3 defense. It's a Katsu specialization. It has combo. When this attacks, if a card with Gust Wave in its name was the last attack this combat chain, name a card, then this gets that name. +2 and go again. So there's a few things here, and also one rules note that is important that is going to change with the release of this card. As it stands, when things ask you to give something a name, you are not legally allowed to give banned cards as that name. Josh Scott has indicated that rule will change with the release of the Hunted. So you can play Surging Strike. Boys. Then you can play Underwhelming Gust Wave, which now has a real purpose. You can play Underwhelming. Well, okay, I guess it doesn't work
Well,
for the Dishonor
Descender.
line.
It has to be Descended
For the Dishonor line,
yeah.
yes, but yeah. So you can once again fully form the Dishonor line, despite the fact that Bonds of Ancestry is not legal. So that's really cool. And again, it gives Underwhelming Gust Wave a little more purpose. So Katsu back on the menu.
Blue 0 for 4 go again, good.
Yep.
That's
This card just does everything that you want it to. It's a blue 0 cost 3 block combo card. That's really good, just like as it is. But it also lets you play the other blue cards like Find Center that you're not playing the previous combo links because they're just not as good as the other things. But the combo finisher, you can now, oh look, I have this Retrace the Past, this blue that's just like consistent in my deck, and then also this Find Center that's the blue 3 block combo, like that's just in my deck to fuel my turns. But now it's like, oh, I have these two cards together. Like normally two blue cards would be very underwhelming, but if you can get the combo off, then all of a sudden you are bringing for 4 into like Find Center, making a Zen State token.
Yeah, you thought one Zen State from Kase was bad? How about 3?
Yeah. Yeah, the fact that it reassembles the Dishonor line or makes it possible again, and then also gives you more like chain ending forks for the Katsu deck is really cool.
Also, I'm a Pounding Gale gamer. The 1 for 5. I know nobody knows what it does, but it's a 1 for 5, and if Open the Center was the previous chain link, and it hits, it deals double damage. So
not bad.
Potentially hit. It's potentially a 1
old,
for 10.
The old 1 for 10.
Or you can have Flusterfist have its combo, and it's just red 0 for 4 Salt the Wind, which is probably better most of the time.
I'm gonna go a different way with it, and I think the most fun one is probably Break Tide.
Most fun, yes.
5 dominate. When it hits, banish a card. You can play it until the end of your next turn.
Why not
5 dominate, draw a card.
We were already playing that one
before. Torrent of Tempo since it's take the Tempo since it's regards.
Yeah, but that one's cost. Break Tide's 0.
All right, we need to keep this moving.
Good luck.
All right. The expansion spoilers look cool.
No. The actual best expansion slot card. The first celebrational card.
Oh, you're right. How could we forget?
Spurlock. Brody Spurlock is on a card. So Spurlock is our first chaos action that we've seen. It's a blue 0 cost, 3 block go again. And this is the reimagination of the silent auction card that Brody proposed at the celebrational, which he won. And so the promise was turn that into a card in the game with his likeness on it. So if the art looks familiar, that's why. So Spurlock says, each hero secretly chooses a number between 1 and 6, then those numbers are revealed. The hero that chose the highest number loses that much life, searches their deck for a card with cost less than or equal to the chosen number, reveals it, puts it in their hand, then shuffles, go again.
Ring of Roses.
Important to note, if both players pick the same number, including the max 6, if you pick the same number, nothing happens. I think this card is like incredibly hard. It's really cool. I think it's a great adaptation of what he originally proposed. I think it's basically impossible to evaluate like what the value is outside of extremely specific in the middle of game scenarios. But what I can say is I saw someone propose, this is a chaos card. The correct way to do it is to grab a d6, put it in a dice cup, shake it, slam it on your playmat, and before you pick the cup up, you just say, that's my number. Embrace the chaos. I don't know what number I picked. This is the correct way to do it.
There's a ham sandwich on the table.
There is a ham sandwich on the table.
Yep. And the fact that he's from Texas and his last name is Spurlock, dressed him up. Not full on cowboy, but like a bit of cowboy there with some spurs. Just it all came together very, very beautifully.
My real question is, how many people can we get to cosplay Brody at US Nats 2025? Just an entire cosplay contest of just Brodies.
No. Don't limit it like that. An entire nationals tournament. All Brodies.
Of just people in boots and spurs and leather dusters. Can you imagine if it's in Texas, if the tournament is in Texas?
Now I can, and I really want it to happen.
Anybody got some cheap chaps I can wear?
But then we get a bunch of different editions too, right? Like gender bent Spurlocked and sexy Spurlock, all of it. It's tons of options there. I'm glad that card is locked to the Chaos talent. Chaos has a really cool border, I think. The talent border looks dope.
The border is so cool.
Yep.
Should we talk about more cards that have the border? Last spoilers we'll talk about. We finally figured out what Chaos does. So Arachne Marionette is a 4 intellect, 40 life hero that says your attacks with stealth that are attacking a marked hero get +1 power, and when this hits, this attack gets go again. And if you don't hit, because the marked status is cleared when you do hit a marked hero, at the beginning of your end phase, if an opponent is marked, you become a random agent of chaos. Your life total does not change. There are 6 of those. We've seen 2 of them so far. I'm just going to bring up Arachne Black Widow as an example. So this is number 1 if you roll a d6 when you randomly change. Once per turn attack reaction, discard an assassin card. Target assassin attack gets +3 power. If it has stealth, it gets, when this hits a hero, they banish a card from their hand. At the beginning of your end phase, return to the Brood, which means transform back into Arachne Marionette. The other one we saw was Tarantula, which also has the discard an assassin card +3 reaction, but it specifically cares about daggers hitting and your opponent losing life as a result. I think so. Black Widow is surgical extraction. They banish card from hand. I wonder if we'll also see a Leave No Witness Arachne, which banishes a card from Arsenal on hit,
Oof.
and a Eradicate Arachne that banishes cards from deck on hit. And then we've got Dagger, Stealth, Contract as the last 3, because there's 6 total forms.
I really hope there's not full-on Eradicate.
Oh, why not?
Banishing the top 1, 2, 3, but not like the top X, where X is the damage you deal. That's what I'm afraid of. But that's fine.
Think
they could do it. I just hope they won't.
Yeah, I was originally really scared about having to randomly change every turn. I think the story of the design is compelling enough that I'm okay with it. Because, the transformations are facilitating your game plan. Either your opponent is not blocking and you're getting to clear the marked status and getting rewarded for that by getting go again on your attacks with Marionette, or they're blocking you out. They're still marked at the end of the turn. You transform, and all of the transformations, it seems, have an attack reaction that will help you hit so that you can clear the marked status and go back to Marionette and kind of advance your game plan in this tug of war, which I think is really neat.
I like this amount of raw variance. It's fully random, but the randomness takes into effect at the predictable time, and as you are going to draw up for the turn. So you get your fresh hand, you see what you have turned into, and you get to plan the whole turn cycle accordingly. And I think the timing of that will lead to, it's basically lower highs and higher lows compared to brute variance, which admittedly mostly just revolves around scab skins rolling the majority of the time, as far as I had this one variance thing not go my way and I lost the game for it. So I think people are going to like it a lot. Also, the marvels for all these Arachnes look unbelievable.
The marvels
crap.
are gorgeous. Also, Looping Fiasco had a fantastic meme on Blue Sky, which is the "We Are Not the Same" meme, and it's brutes roll a 1, they lose their action point. I roll a 1, I become hot. We are not the same.
It's so good. It's so good. Hunted is going to be awesome. But The Hunted comes out in 2025, and we got to wrap up 2024 first. So
We do.
Sorry. I need to talk about Provoke for 30 seconds.
Okay.
You got it. You got it.
Alright. Provoke, blue, warrior, attack reaction, blocks 3, costs 1. If you're attacking with a weapon, this chain link, the defending hero reveals a card from their hand. If it's an action card, add it to the chain link as a defending card. Otherwise, they discard it. Yes.
So you're
Playable
telling me
warrior blues.
So you're telling me Siren's Call, except it's blue, and it also can never miss.
Yes, that's what I'm telling you.
That's pretty good.
This will be a 3 of in every single warrior deck, except maybe Bolton doesn't play it. Maybe he does.
I think maybe he does.
Forcing your opponent to, assuming they have all action cards, forcing your opponent to block to turn on Reprise for Dorinthia, for example. Like, oh, cool. Now you've blocked. Now I'm going to play Michael at the Quicksilver, and I'm going to draw a card. Now I'm going to play this out for blood and get an extra +1, etc., etc. Or you just straight up discard a card. And presuming if it's not an action card, it's probably a defense reaction, or it's a instant. So I love seeing those not in your hand anymore.
Yeah. Card's just nuts. It's just really pushed, and Warrior needs the help. So I'm happy for them.
Ditto.
So the weapons that dude is carrying are craziness in the artwork.
Yeah, they're like giant falchions or scimitars. I don't actually know my swords that well.
I don't know. Whatever it is looks crazy.
Card's great. Get 3. You won't regret
Cards. Yeah. It comes in extended art for a reason.
it. True. That's usually a pretty telltale sign. Although Rip Doom. But Looming Doom looks really cool. Someday it'll get where it needs to be in playability. It's fine.
All right, for real this time.
Once more, with feeling. An hour in, the IP3 year. We'll start with our 2024 Fab superlatives.
Okay.
So we got a few I don't know, titles, labels, awards to give out, I guess.
They're awards.
Yeah.
We are awarding some of the most iconic Flesh and Blood cards and sets of 2024.
Yep. Of which
opinions matter.
Based purely on our own 3 opinions.
Yep. So we'll start off with the cards ones that we have, and then we'll go into sets. So starting us off with cards, best draft bomb. The strongest individual card in its given draftable set.
You open this card and you are going 3-0. So for most of these I had 2 answers come to mind. So I'm going to give a real answer and an honorable mention. My best draft bomb of 2024 is Germinate. Germinate is so good that it sparked a lengthy discussion about should in-set cards sometimes be expansion slot cards because they're too good. And the runner-up Mirror Guy is a very strong card.
And also had that discussion.
Did it?
It did. I know I've had that discussion.
I don't remember it nearly as much as I remember that discussion around Germinate. And I also think that, like, I don't know, I've seen plenty of Enigma decks with Mirror Guy in them, not 3-0. And I don't know that I've ever seen a Florian deck with Germinate, not 3-0.
Yeah.
That's my argument for best draft bomb of 2024.
I'm with you. I also selected Germinate. It's and I think the real tiebreaker, like, Mirror Guy is definitely up there, but the Rosetta Limited was very numeric value oriented format in a way that I don't quite feel MST was. Like it's tough to answer Mirror Guy, and that card represents really good value, but like when individual card value and making the most of things you're blocking with, making sure you're getting good value on decomposing um, and life gain and everything like that. When all of that is as like value oriented and crunchy as Rosetta was, I think Germinate just outshines. It does literally everything you want it to do and can single handedly, you know, flip games much more easily than Mirror Guy.
My answer was Mirror Guy. The reason it wasn't Germinate was because for Germinate to be full value, you had to be able to draft decompose cards, which were difficult to get because a lot of people wanted to play Earth. And then Mirror Guy being, I'm going to play this, I'm going to swing it for 8. You're going to take 8 because if you use cards on defense, you're not going to be able to kill it back or like attack me enough back to destroy it. And so once you take 8, if you still can't destroy it with the random cards that you have right now after the turn that I played this, I'm gonna win the game because I'm gonna get to swing it again, and 16 will be too much from one card. So that's why I chose Mirror Guy.
That's fair. When I threw these superlatives together, I wasn't super precise in my naming, and it more accurately for where my head was at, this should have been best limited bomb rather than best draft bomb specifically. I agree with your reasoning.
I think the ambiguity helps. I think it makes it more interesting.
We don't all have the same answer.
Next ambiguous superlative, because we had a discussion about should most likely to get banned include cards that have already been banned? And we decided no. So these are cards currently legal at the end of 2024 that are most likely to get banned in a future BNR update. Kevin, do you want to go first? We just keep rotating through.
Sure, yeah. So most likely to get banned. I actually kind of want to. I had marked down Traverse the Universe, but I guess that's more most likely to get banned, and then I think it's like worthy of it. But I actually think most likely to get banned is, or I guess most worthy of being banned in my eyes is Levels of Enlightenment. That card is absolutely batshit crazy powerful for a blue card. I don't think it's like not salvageable. Like the 3 modes thing is cool, and I get why it works that way. But for the value it gives, the fact that it costs a resource is nuts. It should cost at least 2, if not 3, and even that would just bring it into the realm of acceptable, but still probably the strongest blue card in the game. Which, if in fairness, MST deserves to have printed the best like blue staple card. It was the blue set. Mm-hmm. It makes sense to me. I just think they still like similar to the Traverse should have 1 block instead of 2. It would still be incredibly strong with 1. Like it's not just suddenly unplayable. And I think Levels ended up in a similar spot.
I would like to revise my answer to Kevin's answer. That's way better than mine. I said Traverse / Mirror Guy. He's totally right. The correct ban is Levels of Enlightenment.
I took the it's not banned in CC, so I chose Open the Floodgates. Because being able to run 9 copies of a card that says draw 2 after all the books got banned, there's gonna be some point that's gonna be a problem. Yeah. And it was already a problem with Living Legend, so they got rid of it. or at least restricted it down to 1 copy. But
Related to Alex's answer, I think my honorable mention is Aether Wildfire. I kind of can't believe that card is legal in a post-Rosetta world. And I think that a lot of card designs in Rosetta paid for Aether Wildfire's sins, which has frustrated me. I won't go on the rant about why Surge is a terrible mechanic, but that's for a future podcast.
We'll put it on the list. We do need to beef up our topics
We'll put
for
it on
next
the
year
list.
too.
Yeah.
All right. Best
up next,
art.
we have the best art of 2024, and of course I have to do this one first, but there's so many there's so many good pieces of art. It's
so many good pieces.
I think I'm just gonna take the Verdant's hero card. I don't know, I think something about the background kind of being out of focus, and her looks like, especially on the Marvel, it looks like she's like about to walk out of the card and like bring all the fall leaves with her. I think it just looks.
I'm just looking
really
at the
good.
card for reference.
You have the Marvel, and I don't, but I played at tournaments and you don't. So.
I don't have the Marvel anymore, but I might
Oh,
undo
you don't
that.
have it anymore.
I might undo that very quickly after Ring of Roses was previewed.
The inverse swag effect.
The inverse swag. I think that's a great choice. I went for a slightly different option. I chose Isuarte Therianto's Mask of Recurring Nightmares, but with the caveat that you have to have the rainbow foil and the cold foil sitting right next to each other. Because I've never seen a card treatment tell a story through art like I have with that card, where at the surface level it looks like just a dream. It's just 2 women holding this mask. And then with the extended art, you get the added context of how it is the recurring nightmare, because they are 4-armed demons torturing a man to death. And it's hidden from you, just like New is like deceptive and sneaky until it's too late and you're already a goner. Until
like
you
that
look at the
next
cold foil
category
extended
better,
art.
but
It does. I don't know. I have a different answer for the next category, but that's my shout out. If I have to just say the card by itself, I think it is. Hold on. I think it's Sonata Galaxia by Olga Tereshchenko. I really have liked her works in general. They're a bit more abstract, a bit more blocky colors, and I feel like they evoke emotion better than some of the kind of like muddy, realistic fantasy art can sometimes. Beautiful card.
I agree. So much so that Sonata Galaxia was my pick for best art. Shout out Olga Tereshchenko. I just think they're neat. Now, there's tons of really sweet looking cards that came out this year. If I had to pick 5, they'd still probably all be Runeblade cards. But Galaxia is just, it's gorgeous. It's gorgeous in foil and not, and nailed the, its own twist on the Sonata card vibe, which is really sweet. And then my secondary one was Face Purgatory. Just it's just phenomenal. I don't really.
Also a gorgeous piece, yeah.
And that one is Tomasz Jedrzejczyk. I'm sorry for saying your last name poorly, but your art is phenomenal, and I love it.
I'm really shocked because for a long time, Alexander Makarov was my favorite Flesh and Blood artist, and he didn't make my top card of this year, which is kind of surprising, I feel. Our next category is best flavor. So which card told the best story or had the best flavor, not necessarily flavor text, but just like the flavor of the card itself. So I'm giving my award to Cosmic Awakening. I think the story is really powerful of turn 0, this is a 9-cost, do nothing. But if you go on that journey and transcend, and you transcend more and more, this card becomes more and more powerful as you understand your place in the universe. and have like this true awakening. I think it's really beautiful, and it's a story told entirely through rules text. There is no flavor text on the card, which I think is really, really neat. And then my honorable mention goes to KO Armed and Dangerous. Seeing the art of him having lost an arm, and then seeing the rules text of you only have one equipment zone was just like, I think it's so cool. And the fact that it like works well in the context of the hero gameplay wise is just like extra bonus points on top. Is really, really well done, LSS.
I think those are great choices.
Where's you next, Kevin?
Oh, I guess I can go next. My pick for best flavor is actually just coincides with my favorite card in Flesh and Blood now that has been supplanted this year. Splintering Deadwood. It's the Rosetta 3 for 7, and I think it just does a really good job sort of embodying the Golgari vibes of like the Earth Rune Blade style, right? So it's the reduce, reuse, recycle, things sprouting from decay and growing into new things, right? So it's, you sacrifice an aura to gain a rune chance. If you hit, you can do it again. The flavor and the function is really cool. And I'm excited for its potential in the future. I actually, you know what? One of my favorite limited cards ever was Bloodtorn Bodice, because I loved the cool, sack a thing, get a resource. Like I hope at some point, and it feels kind of inevitable to an extent that they explore that space in the future, but a majestic or legendary power level equipment with an ability that lets you do that multiple times. Sacking your own things for value is just a really cool area of Flesh and Blood gameplay that I would like to see more explored. And I think Splintering Deadwood is just a really good poster child for that playstyle while being cool and powerful and having good art and just fitting excellently into the set's theme.
My answer for best flavor is Command and Conquer. Wait, Alex, Command and Conquer wasn't printed in 2024. Well, the Kasai version of Command and Conquer from her winning so much in the arena was printed in 2024. And I just love that, like, playing in local events, going to your road to nationals, like winning it, your draft road nationals on a certain hero gave them points, and then if you got the most points, then you were rewarded with this card, and like the players got to shape the lore of Wraith, which I think is super cool.
That is
really awesome.
Such a perfect answer. It really is.
You want your brains to be possibly broken a little more?
Let's go.
What if they use the hunted to let the player base figure out if Arachne dies or not, if the hunt is successful?
I would be devastated if Arachne died.
I agree.
Is Arachne really ever dead, though?
Well, it's
now we're asking
one and two more
hard-hitting questions.
Open their place.
Once we have 3 chi, we'll be able to figure it out, though. We'll know our place in Arachne's in the universe. And...
So those are our card-specific awards. We also have some awards discussing which sets we think performed best and worst in some different categories this year. So our first set award is Best Draft Experience. So I'm a dirty cheater, and I have 2 answers here because we were ambiguous, and I want to clarify. I think during the actual draft portion of drafting your 3 packs, the best draft experience was Part the Mistveil, and I think it's not particularly close. You could stay open so long in Part the Mistveil and pretty comfortably pivot, and there were multiple unique archetypes per hero that were like meaningfully different. and impacted both your draft and your games. That being said, I think in terms of actually playing the games, the draft is over. Heavy Hitters was the clear winner of just like bread and butter, flesh and blood. The games felt good. There wasn't any like particularly feels bad blowouts. It was just clean, solid, limited. Even though the draft experience was a bit more on the rails.
Interesting. Alex, you want to go next?
Do you disagree?
Sure.
Or Alex?
I don't disagree. It's just I think we have voted for every set that came out this year for different reasons, which is kind of cool.
That's really
So,
good.
yeah,
That's very good.
It's funny because never mind. I chose Miss Vale. Blue strat. Shout out Mark Morrison.
an hour
Sorry,
and
Mark, it
15
took so
minutes.
long.
He won't have made it to this point. He's already disliked the video. But for what Rhea said, like I think there was at one point in one draft that there was 4 picks left in pack 2, and I still hadn't locked into what I was playing, and still ended up like having a good draft deck, even though I hadn't picked a hero yet or got into a lane. So that was really great. And then I just love the personal memory of like unlocking the all blue strategy.
That was very cool to watch Mark figure out. And you.
Yeah, that was joint. It was Alex definitely pitched it first. Mark
Yes,
fleshed it out
yeah.
because he had a
Well,
lot
Mark-
of
but Mark had the
time on his
advantage
hands.
Mark was unemployed at the time.
Yes, Mark had the advantage of drafting just a million drafts.
But yeah, that was awesome. I wish I should have dug it up our like team stats for using the blue strat at that nationals, because I think draft wise as a group that worked on that strat together, I think it was very successful in the event.
Yeah, I think it was day 1. I think almost everybody got a 3-0 with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do. My only complaint about Blue Strat is I had to pass 2 stamped persuasive prognosis, which killed me inside. But they just did not go with my Blue Strat deck.
That just means you passed the foil Tarmogoyf, which means you passed the test.
I did 3-0 though, so it was worth it.
Totally. So I spoiled this earlier, but my best draft experience, I put Rosetta. I think the drafting experience landed in between MST and Heavy Hitters in terms of lanes and openness and ability to swap. But I think the reason that I picked Rosetta is
There's Rune Blades in it.
All right. Well, I mean that's a little cheaty, but I think the things that you like did in the games were the most interesting. So you had, Acilio with the instant shenanigans culminating into like tall arcane or pseudo spam with flashes and that sort of thing. The splintering deadwood and aura manipulation stuff of playing Florian and working towards the rune chant values. The fact that like you could build mono arcane verdants, but you could also build bruiser verdants, and those were like the full opposite ends of the spectrum on the same hero. And then Aurora, like
Was there?
Aurora was the aggro hero of it, like the pure classic aggro hero. But there was like even within that there were neat synergies with like people aren't expecting to need to block arcane as much into Aurora, so like meet and greets and Runehold release and little bits of arcane become more potent and unlock just some other different cards, and yeah, it was the games themselves were the Wild West. What mattered game to game could vary dramatically, like round to round in a draft. Whereas when I was playing MST and heavy hitters, like you kind of know what you're signing up for, right? Or like every game into Enigma has the same that same question being asked on like clearing a board and not just not falling behind. But yeah, I think the varied gameplay experience of Rosetta is what sold me on it the most.
Okay.
I can see
I
that.
think you're just Runeblade focused, but
There were
All right.
wizards there too.
What did we think set wise was the best or had the healthiest meta impact? I
there's
chose
only there's only one correct answer. Go ahead.
We can save some time because we were unanimous on this.
It's heavy meta. Pre Part the Mistfall heavy meta was the healthiest meta in the history of Flesh and Blood Classic Constructed. Meta was sick. I kind of just want to go back to it.
I'll go
and
a step
don't
further.
Listen,
because pre-MST Living Legend is like I think what the format should strive for. Pre-MST Living Legend was fun and varied and open.
And I also want to say there's been this weird like revisionist history going on recently where people try to argue that heavy meta was bad. Those complaints did not exist during that time period, to my knowledge. Like everyone that I talked to seemed pretty happy with the format.
The complaints that I saw was that the meta was boring. There was no like explosive decks. Some people who like that style would complain that it's just the numbers format. But
you say that, but in the
I mean, I don't
LA,
say that. But the argument is
these,
like that
these
is
people
what
say that,
is.
but in the Pro Tour LA Top 8, you're watching KO play turn 0 cast bones into Blood Rush Bellow and have 25 plus damage turn 1 or 2. I don't know.
We are in agreement. I just know
we are all in agreement.
I
It was
saw
heavy
people
meta.
complaining about it, and I'm like,
Take
you're in the wrong
us
game
back.
if you don't like what's happening right now.
Yeah,
take us back.
Heavy hitters meta for both CC and LL is gonna. Originally, it was like remember crew era Fab things felt good and mostly balanced there, right? Like maybe Dash was a little bit too good with setting up the items and stuff. There wasn't quite enough counterplay yet, but on the whole, everything else felt, there was play to. Obviously, Ranger needed its help, but they got it eventually. But yeah, I think heavy hitters is the next chapter that will get fondly referred to for quite some time.
Okay, so we were all unanimous about healthiest meta. We were not unanimous about best new CC hero. And this is not in terms of power level necessarily, just in terms of healthiest for the game, most positive impact on the game. So I chose Aurora. I think Aurora is kind of a useful new poster child for Fab in terms of marketing. The art, I know some people have complained it feels not very flesh and blood, but I think on the other hand, it's like very vibrant, it pops, it's easy to look at and say like, what is going on there? And the deck just feels cool. The hero text is not complicated. You have 2 very simple lines of text, but they enable at the advanced level some very complicated lines of play and decision making about this turn versus next turn or the future, which I think is really interesting. Her specialization is cool. She gets to play this switchboard combo deck and aggro deck. I think she's a really well designed hero. And while she's not the strongest, I think she's kind of like Flesh and Blood and Rune Blades at its best. I see that y'all are actually in agreement on your answer, and I'm the odd one out here.
Yeah, I chose KO. I think as much as people complain in the heavy hitters meta, because the TCG community will just find anything to complain about. But I think KO is still the best deck in format, healthiest that we've ever had.
Yeah.
It's like, yes, KO is very good, and you need to plan into KO, but I feel like a ton of decks had answers for it that they could play into.
Yeah, I agree. KO is the healthiest best deck Fab has had to date.
Yeah.
It was the best, but by an acceptable margin. Not like when Lexi was running rampant and or when Zen was running rampant. Mine was pretty much a tie though, and I had KO and Florian for my two picks for that, and I think it's uh, KO, for the sort of format health implications and what you see is what you get. It had to subject itself to running some non-blocking cards, to the variance of cast bones and non-attack action friction versus random discards off the top of the deck. And Florian, I think Florian represents what I want long games of Flesh and Blood to, I guess, look like. It he uh, fights kind of fair, wants to basically give himself the best weapon in the game, right? Which is cool. Once I get my hero ability online, I can make 2 rune chants and swing the sword, and every blue card I have is a 5 damage turn. I hope in the future they give more stuff to make you want to like second cycle malefic incantations and play more of that like aura churn style. But I think Florian is a really good deck to like. You could thoroughly beat up on a new player with Florian, and they'll still feel like they got to play a game. And I think you could play Florian into just about any deck. Enigma would feel miserable, but aside from Enigma, like you can play into stronger decks, bad matchups or whatever, and still feel like you're, have a good shot, are doing something powerful. Just sort of have a satisfying experience with it.
Yep. Okay, I'm sold. And then you want to take the last one?
Last but not least.
Well, last and least.
Last and least. That is more accurate. Hero most likely to need an armory deck in order to be viable. Spoiler alert, mono heavy hitters here.
We're not unanimous, but we sure are. There's a recurrent theme. Yeah, so
I went with Betsy.
Yeah, that's a good choice.
In fairness, Betsy getting Drink Under the Table is really cool, and that card is objectively very strong. But I think there just needs to be a bit more, some other decent things to generate gold to keep the bets flowing, and probably some a few more wager cards that are 3 blocks, so that you're not looking at like once you get past her 2 very strong majestics, you're looking at wage gold, wage might. Like it gets bad real quick.
Yeah.
And when you aren't gonna be doing the raw best numbers, and when your hero power isn't, doesn't truly end games quite like Dominate does, she's gonna need something. So she needs a bit more of a fleshed out set of wager cards, I believe, and possibly ways to wager defensively would be very cool. Like wagering defense reaction where you're like, I bet that your attack won't hit.
That would be very neat, actually. That's a very, very cool idea. Neat.
when your deck is full of 2 blocks, but the idea is cool.
Or
Well,
actually, they'd probably make it a block card now that I say that, right? Because they want there to be tension afterwards. So you don't want to put it on the reaction where you can be like, oh, the last thing I do is bet you that your attack won't hit, because that's kind of obnoxious. So that could be a block card. Oh, and if you win the bet, like get a gold and tutor an attack. They've shown
so we're just redesigning Unforgetting, Unforgiving.
Yeah, basically.
Give Betsy Unforgetting, Unforgetting, Forgiving.
Yep.
Alex, I think you also have the same answer.
I also chose Betsy, but I'm ready to make a counter argument for your choice. So go ahead.
Yeah. I think Olympia needs like 2 or 3 armory decks. I don't know what they could do for that poor hero to make him playable. I really don't. And I'm gonna throw an honorable mention to Teklevosen just because, like, I feel like we keep getting cards that say boost Teklevosen, and that deck just still doesn't exist yet. But Olympia needs 2 armory decks, not just 1. It's bad.
Yeah, I disagree. I think Olympia's much closer than Betsy.
Really? Okay.
Because Olympia wants to wage. What Olympia wants is a weapon with like an alternative cost of gold or something like that, or a weapon that wagers or something like that. But the argument is you can still run Olympia with the current cards, like the cards that wager and add like buff to weapon attacks. They still block 3, so you're still a good like warrior blocking deck, and you're wagering, and you've got the attack reactions to make sure that your stuff hits and that you can get gold. He just doesn't have anything fantastic to do with the gold once he has it, and he's made a bunch of it. You can get your equipment back, with
Alex,
his specializations.
are you implying that the payoff isn't the gold? Because it was
Yeah,
very clear.
that's
The payoff is the gold.
Yeah, I will disagree. So there's just not a reason to play Olympia right now over Dorinthia if you're gonna play a basic warrior.
No,
or
you're
even
you're
Kasai.
totally right.
If you're gonna do dual wield, then you'd rather do Kasai, and if you're gonna do like a one-handed weapon like Decimator or Dawnblade, then you'd rather do Dory.
Yeah, okay. And that's the awards for 2024. We do have some fun numbers
Yes,
that I
indeed.
think you've compiled, Kevin, to wrap things up.
Yeah. So in honor of completing our first year of this podcast and streaming it to YouTube and Spotify, as of today, we're at 446 subscribers on YouTube, which is pretty awesome, given that we started with none.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much.
everyone.
And if you haven't yet, hit it. It'd be really dope to hit like 500 for 2025 starts. It'd be sweet. But supplementing our subscribers here on YouTube, we've also got 112 followers over on Spotify. And total views / listens for the year, 26,000.
That's a lot. That's
It is
a
a lot.
lot.
It definitely.
Those are the prison deck tech.
No, but that is our most viewed episode by about a factor of 2. I think that has like 3,000 something views on it.
That is a lot.
Sad. It's so outdated now.
Yeah.
It's so outdated.
There's been a bunch of bans since then, but a bunch of new sets. But yeah, proof that people want the bleeding edge tech.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all had cracked it for the PT, so well deserved view count there. And our runner-up was actually our last episode, episode 26, the myth of mid-range debate. Oh, it's here! It's here! She was ready. She was so ready.
We also got a lot of comments on that episode, so thank you everyone for sharing. I don't think we responded to every comment, but I know at least I read all of them.
Yeah, no, I also read all of them.
Just to see what the vibe was.
We're a bit delinquent in our responses this time around, but it happens. You'll get over it.
It's part of the red web dartboard aesthetic.
Yeah. So yeah, that's that's sort of the high level view of a year of the IP3. I know that we've had a lot of fun doing this and are looking forward to continuing it in 2025. I will probably not be on for a little while at the start of the year. As previously mentioned, I will be on full-time father duty for a little while.
Join the Fab Dad Union. We'll
Officially,
expect your
officially.
dues paid in full by the end of January.
Oh no. Babies are expensive. Fun fact. So, if you ever want kids, be prepared for that. It's cool. I'll sell more Marvel CNCs and put them through college that way. But yeah. So 2025, we'll be back. We are gonna fall off our normal cadence for a little bit. Not sure if the first
Slight
2025 episode's gonna be the week of January 6th or 13th.
slight holiday break. Yeah.
Slight holiday break, and some parental leave. But we will be back, possibly with a guest host if it is necessary for a bit to someone to keep Alex company while he holds down the fort. Because Rhea is also going to be moving pretty early on in the year. Again. But yeah, so 2025 is coming in with the Hunted. I think we talked a little bit, and we got some goals for next year. It'd be really cool to get up to that 1,000 subscriber mark, which would be sweet. But obviously, we'll just have to keep chugging along and see if we get there. But I think our definitely more fun goal that also, if people have watched anywhere near avidly, they would be well aware that we want a spoiler card.
We want a spoiler card so bad, LSS.
We'll go all out. I don't even know what that means, but we'll do it.
I need to add something to this goal that we didn't talk about that I'm just gonna put out there.
Do it live.
We need an IP3 versus 3 floating
I would
team battle.
I would love to do that. I would love to do
3v3.
that.
I have no idea how we
Aiden,
record
Sam,
it
Jacob, if y'all are watching, please let's make that happen.
Super in. We'll just figure out whether it's US Nats
It'll
or
be
Worlds
it'll
in
be
the
at Worlds
US.
next year in the US. Yeah, everybody will be there.
Yeah,
I don't know how we record it because it's like so you gotta cover 3 sections, but
it's small details.
We'll just like one match at a time and record it, and everybody else's peanut gallery in that match. It's perfect.
You play one match at a time, and everyone has an angel and devil on their shoulders.
All right. Double. Oh wait, I was gonna say which shoulder is don't block, because that's the shoulder for me. But yeah, so that just about wraps it up. Anything else before we?
I think that's a perfect way to end it.
I agree.
I do want to know what our listeners / viewers want to see.
Yeah.
Something that we did that you really liked this year, or something that we didn't do that you want us to do. Let us know.
Comment below with your ideas.
Yeah, please. More deck text, less deck text, more episodes, more episodes that have a true specific topic to them.
I think the episodes are I think people kind of love them.
And they're pretty fun. It's nice when it's just like, okay, this whole episode just gets to be off the cuff. Perfect. But yeah, let us know what you think, and everyone watching and listening, good holiday season, and the IP3 will see you in 2025.